Good afternoon, everyone. Wednesday, September 29th at 3:02 p.m. We are officially calling this meeting of the Academic Senate to order. Our Academic Senate community values are where we start each and every meeting. Item 2.2, if you'd like to review them in their entirety. I would like to call out, which one do I want to call out? Yeah, let's see. Oh, which one do we want to call out? Let's do number 2 today. Commit to learning from each other. Listen to each other and acknowledge that we're all from different backgrounds, skills, interests, abilities, and values. We realize that it is these very differences that will increase our awareness and understanding. So please keep that in mind today, and I'll definitely call out the positional dynamics that can take place when we have full-timers and part-timers and instructors, classroom instructors, instructional faculty versus ESD, and all of those different experiences that we have on campus. All right, Zoom meeting guidelines. Please raise your virtual hand in the Zoom meeting controls. If you want to discuss anything. Approval of the agenda. We are going to do today's agenda as distributed and posted, so no items will be taken out of order. And now we are at item 3.1, public comments. So the public has the right to address the Senate at this time. You will have a 3-minute time limit to do so. I gotta find my phone to keep track of that. If you are here for public comment, either now or at the beginning of one of our discussion items, please raise your virtual hand and I will call on you. And then Santa Barbara City College community is also invited throughout the meeting to make public comments before the Senate discusses any of our agenda items. So is there anyone here that would like to make public comment at this time? Okay, I'm seeing none. All right. Minutes of the regular meeting from September 15th have been posted and distributed. Is there any corrections or edits that needs to take place? I'm seeing no one trying to engage in this conversation, so we will accept the minutes as posted and distributed. Thank you for that. President's report. So I have 2 separate documents attached to today's agenda. One is my written report. One is my terrible notes from the Senate town hall meeting that we had on the 23rd. So a faculty member requested that I create a form for submissions for talking points before the meeting. So those submission points are in the document as well. And then I called these my terrible notes because I found it really hard to take notes while people were talking and when I was trying to listen. So that was a lesson learned in multitasking. Ellen Carey and Daniel Giles can tell you that I was not very good at that because I totally screwed up their points in the notes, but they helped me fix it. So these certainly aren't exhaustive, but it was just some of the talking points made from the town hall. A quick summary of the things that we talked about. Many of the faculty members that were engaged in that conversation that day felt very strongly that faculty should live in the immediate local area, at least be able to travel to and from Santa Barbara City College several times a week, regardless of their modality, with the exception of our fully online program, health information technologies, and cancer information management systems. So that was the general idea from that meeting. but it was not a Senate meeting. It was just a faculty opportunity to engage in conversation outside of a Senate meeting. So my president's report today, yes, a lot of it is written, but I do want to highlight a couple of things. Of course, this is definitely not the first time you were hearing this. I think it's important to acknowledge our loss of Janet Hose from DSPS. That came very sudden. No one was expecting it. And of course, the DSPS family, faculty, and staff are working their way through their grief, as are the rest of us in faculty and at the campus. So something in person will be planned for the spring to honor Janet. So please expect that. CPC Tara can report out about the conversation about creating better communications, but that was brought to CPC. PDAC is currently talking about plans for spring in-service. Joy Coons asked a really good question about why do we only consider a faculty tenure track position for 2 years, and then after that it's considered a new position as opposed to a replacement. And we are still waiting on where that is codified in policy, procedure, process, who says that, who determines that, and why. We haven't heard back yet, so we're still waiting for other people to ask questions. PEC, hopefully all of you in your departments have heard from your pod leaders. So pods are subcommittees of PEC that are assigned to specific programs and departments to support them. Also, it's also on the as an information item, so I'll talk about that there. Student Equity Committee, Brittany Muschamp and I met and we're working through that. At the end of 2022 will be the year that our previous student equity plan essentially sunsets. And so we are thinking about gearing up for the new plan. It is my understanding that Dr. Anselmo Villanueva has that on his radar, and hopefully we will be hearing more about that soon. Our FA liaison offered to do Senate headshots for all of us. She contacted me via email. If you haven't checked out the Faculty Association redesigned website, please do. I've mentioned it before. It looks really nice, and that was the big lift was done by Margarita, and she would like to take photos of all of us as she did for the FA Executive Board. This might be a nice thing for you to have in this time of social distancing and being remote. If you want a professional headshot, please let her know. Robin Goodnow, Robbie and I met with 3 of the members of our Board of Trustees over coffee to have some discussions and figure out a way forward and figure out if and when and how the Board of Trustees can really hear us. I am arranging not a tech assist with the ASCCC, the State Academic Senate, but rather they have offered us at Santa Barbara City College a newly designed coaching program. So only one other college has engaged in this coaching program. So it's kind of still in its piloting phase. So we're the second college to participate in this way. Essentially what this means is that the State Academic Senate assigns us someone. They assigned us Jeffrey Dyer from Taft College. And basically he and I will be working together multiple times throughout this fall semester. He'll be coming to our Senate meetings. He'll be working with ad hoc committees, and he will basically be, you can think of it like a consultant, not necessarily a coach, but like a consultant on helping us work through our Senate subcommittee structure and what's working where and why, and where can we improve on, and what are other colleges doing. And so he and I had our first meeting Monday. I'm also meeting with Julie Bruno next week, and then I'll meet with Jeffrey again after that. So more on that soon. He might drop by our meetings and talk to us. He, like I said, will engage with us in like ad hoc committee meetings and have really good, thoughtful advice for us. So I'm really excited about all of the expertise that he can bring to us and our conversations. I have two more things that I want to share with you all that were not in my written report. One of them is, if you didn't see the email from Rob Brown, please make a note, senators, to tell all faculty to back up their grade books now, before and on October 1st, and then again after that. And the reason for this is our vaccine mandate deadline is upon us, and the college, and Dr. Kathy Stott will speak more to this in a minute, I bet, but the college is working very hard to inform students that they will be dropped administratively in the middle of October after this mandate goes into full effect. And in the off chance that they are dropped by mistake, or you would like to work with them and offer them online options, or you need access to any or all of their grades after they are administratively withdrawn from your class, and you only keep track of their grades in Canvas, you will not have access to their work and your grades after they are withdrawn from your class. So please keep that in mind. Please share that out in as many ways to as many people as you can, because we certainly don't want people having to be caught off guard by that and need access to student records. The last thing I want to share is at the last Campus Climate Town Hall, and afterwards, we're having some conversations about a way forward. As I was before, I am very interested in stepping down as the co-chair of that endeavor. I only ever participated in it because it was a kind of a faculty endorsed thing that was proposed to CPC at a time when nothing else was being done around the DEI campus climate survey. And so, you know, I took part in spearheading it, but I do think that my time there is coming to an end for a number of reasons. I did reach out to a consistent participant of that town hall, Dr. Art Olguin. He did not get back to me with interest in replacing me as the faculty co-chair. So if anyone is available, interested, and willing in participating and being a co-chair, Hong and Rui are really amazing co-chairs. I think that you will have a really easy time stepping in and having them help you, and I can certainly help pass the baton as well. So that's it for me. Thanks for letting me dump all of that on you and at you. And unless anybody has clarifying questions for me at this time, we can move on to our Senate liaison reports. Okay, I'm seeing no hands raised, so I'll kick it over to, oh, Dee Dee.
I'm looking for my hand. I have something to share from ITC.
Okay.
At their one of their 2 meetings, they are charging committee members to reach out to their division to get a feeler and feedback regarding a pilot program, Computers for Students, that will be funded by the foundation and college. The pilot would involve a select group of students, perhaps SBCC's Promise students, and what they would do is be given a Chromebook device to be utilized in their specific classroom, and they will be housed in their classroom. So there's a template email that they have given us to share, and I will actually share that with you so that you can have that. That's it from ITC.
Thanks, Dee Dee. That's awesome. Other liaisons, Ellen, Jenny, Tara? Go ahead, Tara.
Since you brought it up, I will just briefly share what the Academic Senate brought to CPC with respect to improving the channels of communication, specifically between faculty and staff with administration, which this was a topic of conversation that we had here at Senate, especially trying to not only find ways of improving that conversation, but also setting some expectations for when emails are received, how long should we wait before we hear responses and the like. And I will say it was a productive conversation. Dr. Murillo really did hear us. She is putting together a work group. So I've outlined all of that in my liaison report, but I wanted just to share with our Senate body that I did take our concerns to CPC, and they were received, they were heard. And I'll report back on what happens with the work group.
Thanks for that, Tara. Okay. So as always, if oral reports aren't getting given from our liaison, or even if they are, please make sure that you are reading the written report as well. That is very important for everyone to be informed about what is happening in different spaces outside of Senate and interfacing with Senate and other campus groups. All right, so now we'll kick it over to Dr. Kathy Scott for the EVP report today.
Thank you, Ray. I have a few things, not a lot. I did want to say that I went to the flag lowering ceremony for non-credit student Gregory Fingerly this week, and it was really, really touching for those who were there. I've never seen a college do that kind of a ceremony for a student who had passed away, and it was really touching. I thought Dr. Murillo did a great job. The student's mother spoke. Trisha, I see you here. You were just fabulous. Just really spoke really well, and so did Sally Singer. It was a very touching thing, and it was, some of his friends were there, and his friends said that, and they're former SBCC students, and they said that one of them drove all the way from San Diego for it, and he said he didn't expect it to be any big deal, and he was just stunned by how beautiful it was. So anyways, they planted a tree. It was very, very, very nice. So that's one of the things we do here. Good for us, because it was great. We're trying to prepare as best we can for the October 1st vaccine requirement date. We've got a spreadsheet we're sending around. We've asked the ALA to help us. The deans have canceled the dean's meeting. PC has been canceled. We will all be out there walking around, doing what we can to be helpful. So please watch for us. We're going to do our best to have our little name tags on, so you'll know that we're there. But we're there to be helpful. If you need us, please email our offices, let us know, and we'll be there. But I mean, if it's emergency, don't do that. But just let us know if there's things in general we could be doing. But we will all be out there, including Dr. Murillo. So we want to be helpful. In regards to the students who could potentially get dropped, what Ray said that I would be talking about, there's been a lot of discussion about whether or not we could provide the names of students to faculty who will be dropped on October 23rd. And these are students who are not compliant with the requirement, don't have an exemption on file, and don't have a card uploaded. But we've been asked to be cautious about this, because in some cases the faculty could be working with the student and may want the student to stay in the class. So we've had a lot of discussions about this, and we do have the information disaggregated by section number. So we can push it out to faculty teaching face-to-face or hybrid, and we'll let them know who these students are and who we intend to drop. And if anybody feels they do not want a student dropped, they need to let us know, and we will not drop the student they do not want dropped, because obviously we would like the students to stay in school if at all possible. And again, it's up to the faculty member. Some students may be vaccinated within, be fully vaccinated within 2 days of October 1st. Some may not get fully vaccinated till the end of October. And those are worlds apart. And some faculty may be able to be flexible, some may not. We will support you with whatever your decision is, and we will drop people who need to be dropped. And let's see, I think that's, I also did want to tell you about an email that came from the Chancellor's office, and I should have got it in the Senate document, and I'm sorry, I just didn't get it over there fast enough. They sent in an email from the Chancellor's office about the enrollment fraud that's happening right now with financial aid. It's always been a bad situation in regards to distance ed classes, but now that so much is online, people have really taken advantage of the opportunity to take the resources that belong to our students and basically steal them. So there are some things that faculty can do, and I'll make sure that this gets uploaded, and Ray has a copy of it, and she can send it out as appropriate and put it on the next Senate agenda. But there's things faculty can do to mitigate this. And it's in the email, but one of the things you can do is have some sort of small, low stakes or no stakes assignment that students have to submit to you. And then make sure that it has something to do with what you asked. It shouldn't be completely unrelated, like they knew an assignment was due, so they just submitted anything. It should be connected with what you specifically asked. Also look for kind of odd things, such as students having the same phone number. Another kind of trigger to this is having no phone number. And we do know that some of our students don't have a phone number, but when you see large numbers of students with no phone number, that's usually, you know, the 555, 555, 5555. That's usually an indication that could be a problem. And I've also been told that, in addition to having no phone number, they also often have an Outlook email address. So there's lots of things you can do, but reaching out to students who haven't been engaged in the class is really important. Make sure that they email you back. And that sort of thing. So we'll send that out. Some colleges have been hit really, really, really hard. I don't think we're one of them, thankfully, but at some colleges, students, faculty had maybe 20 students in their class one day. The next day, the class was full and closed when they had a cap of 40. So in multiple areas across the entire campus. So we do want to be careful about that. And I think that's it. Just let me say one more thing. We had our strategic enrollment management committee this week. Tara did a great job leading that. And we talked a lot about what our philosophy is for enrollment management. And that philosophy, I am anticipating, will become part of our plan, the preliminary part of our document as to why we are focused on the things we're focused on. So I thought that was great. And I think that's all for me. Thank you very much.
Okay, cool. Jenny.
Thanks. Okay, so for Kathy, just clarifying question. A spreadsheet's going to go to the faculty, letting them know student statuses for vaccination. Is it the faculty member's responsibility to drop the student at that date, or it's going to be indicated they will be dropped? And then the faculty should contact to say, no, wait, on particular students? Is that?
Yeah, we'll be sending you a list. I don't know if it'll be a spreadsheet because I don't anticipate it being very many students per section. It'll just be a list of the students. And then if you're able to, reach out to them and say, listen, you're going to get dropped. I'm worried for you, whatever you want to do, or, that's up to you. But no, faculty are not expected to drop them. We will drop them on October 23rd. We're just giving you a heads up of who we are dropping. And if you don't want somebody dropped, then tell us, don't drop so-and-so, and we will not drop that student. But you are not responsible for dropping them. They will be administratively dropped.
Robbie.
So you may have just answered one of my questions, but so the students will get dropped on the 23rd. And is there a time by which you want instructors to say if there are certain students not to be dropped?
It just has to be before the 23rd.
Just before the 23rd?
Yeah, and
okay.
I would that's a good point, that maybe we should set a date like the 20th or, just a few days before that. You can certainly let us know at any point, don't drop this person. We're going to start pushing these reports out probably next week. So if you already know, I've made an arrangement with this student has already told me he or she or they are not vaccinated, or they're not going to be fully vaccinated until October 10th. I've told them it's fine, or even the 30th, whatever you've made arrangements with, and we'll do what you ask.
Okay. And who, precisely to whom should an instructor send an email to not to drop the student?
When we send that out, we'll put that in the email when you get the list of students. And I would just ask, of course, that people be really delicate with that information, because we don't know whether they're unvaccinated, they never want to get vaccinated, or whether they just haven't uploaded their card, or whether they're waiting for their exemption paperwork. We don't know what their situation is. They lost their card, we just don't know. So I'll put that in the email too, to be really sensitive with students about it.
Okay, and I'm sorry if you answered this already, but when will those lists go out?
We'll start pushing those out next week.
Next week. Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
probably late next week. We're still got a lot of efforts trying to reach out to these students. Phone calls, emails, lots of ways we've been trying to contact them, and we want to get the numbers down before we send it out to everybody, because we don't want, we don't want you dealing with what we're trying to do.
Paloma, did you have a question?
I'm sorry, Ray, I know I'm not a member of Senate. I just wanted to provide a point of clarification that I think everybody probably understands, but I just want to reiterate. When we're saying faculty can work with students after the October 1st deadline, it's not to stay in person in the class. It's like to work on remote assignments or to do some type of Zoom opportunity, but it's not allowing the student to physically be present in the class. So I just wanted to make sure that that little piece was clear.
And I'm sorry, I should have reiterated that. I keep saying that and people keep misinterpreting it as, oh, it's okay for the student to come into class for a couple of weeks. No, it's not. And nobody can be in any of the buildings without that. So no.
Cool, thank you. And along those same lines, I think it is worth saying that instructors aren't expected to create online content for the students. It's just some might want to and be able to do that. And if so, you have that opportunity. But other than that, the students have been informed they will be dropped as of X date.
Yes, exactly.
Coolness. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. And thank you for that clarifying point, Paloma. Okay, item 5.4, there actually is a request for Senate to take something up. So I'll throw it up on the screen for everybody to review. This came from Matt Kay, our CAC chair, and Melanie Eckford-Prosser, a member of CAC. So yes, Franny. I don't know. Hold on. Let me tell them something. Along these same lines of next semester, when we have more face-to-face classes, Matt and Melanie were a little worried, let's say, about this normalization perhaps of students getting sick and not being able to attend class, and then having there be the expectation of class content being available to a student for an extended period of time. I know that this is something that faculty have discussed with the FA. I know this is something that came up at the Senate town hall last week. I know, a lot of people that are teaching face-to-face currently have this concern now that, whenever students are missing, I have to provide my recordings, I have to do all these things, and it feels like a lot of extra work. And so Melanie and Matt sent me this email asking if the Senate would pick something like this up for this conversation. And specifically, they, drafted some verbiage for their syllabus. And so, as a Senate, if we wanted to agendize this in the near future, it might be helpful for faculty that are returning face-to-face in the spring to have a statement like this, perhaps, like I said, endorsed by the Academic Senate, to copy and paste into your syllabi. So it just effectively makes the point that if a student is missing your face-to-face class, it's not the instructor's responsibility, and that that, Canvas shells should exist for face-to-face courses, but in many cases will only contain essential course documents. So if this is something the Senate would like to see agendized in the near future, I'd like to hear a motion to do so from a senator, and then a second, and then to agendize it, we would need a majority vote as per our outlined process for these requests for agenda items. Robbie.
I move to agendize that.
Okay.
This is Ruth. I'll second.
Okay, so there's been a motion to agendize this concept of syllabus language for use of faculty to remove the expectation or assumption of online content being provided if a student is unable to attend face-to-face classes. Let's do a roll call vote. All right, so you can vote yes to agendize this item, to bring it back for discussion and action. You can vote no, not to bring it back, or you may abstain, which is a non-vote. So Ben Reyes,
Yes.
Counselor Jen,
Yes.
Ellen,
Yes.
Jenny,
Yes.
Joy,
Yes.
Dee Dee,
Yes.
Elizabeth,
Yes.
Kathleen, Kathy O'Connor.
Yes. Yes, yes, sorry.
Thanks. Robin,
Yes.
Jess,
Yes.
Robbie,
Yes.
Ruth,
Yes.
Tara,
Yes.
Russell. Did I see Russell today? Is Russell here? No, I'm not seeing him on the attendance list today. Trisha
Yes.
and Anna.
Yes.
Cool, there it was. All right, right on. So we have full agendas. Next few meetings, we'll put it on the tail end of our next meeting after presentations and our Constitution discussion. And if we get to it, awesome. And if not, we will table it for the next meeting out. So thanks for that. All right. Now we are at agenda item 6, our consent agenda. So resharing my screen with you all so you can see the consent agenda. We have 2 items. One is a continuation of remote meetings for the Academic Senate. So I sent this out to interested parties. Governor Newsom signed into law Assembly Bill, 361, which essentially extends the current suspension of the Brown and Bagley-Keene Act provisions until the end of January 22. Specifically, while we're in these remote conditions, we do not have to be available in a public place and physically be posting our agenda so that the public can come and give public comment wherever we are all at. I think that's the biggest one for us. So the most relevant part for us as the Academic Senate is this importance of every 30 days reconsidering it as a body based on our local circumstances, whether or not we will continue in a remote meeting environment. So everything, basically what we've been doing will continue. Just every 30 days, we have to reapprove that as a body to say, yes, we're going to do that. So my recommendation to Academic Senate Steering and also CAC and other Brown Act bodies around campus is that we create an agenda item once a month. That's a consent item, just so that we can continue to do this through the end of the school year while we are all, let's use the phrase trickling back to campus, so to speak, in full face-to-face considerations. So that's why it's there. If you want more information, there is a article link, the full Assembly Bill language, as well as the governor's announcement that are all attached there. And then, of course, if we don't want to continue in these remote meeting conditions, the way we would handle that is we would have a senator request to remove it from the consent agenda. It would be placed at the bottom of our agenda, basically as a discussion item so that the Senate can discuss and deliberate rather than just reviewing it and approving it and moving on. Item 6.3, Russell Granger has agreed to be the CTE liaison for the State Academic Senate. Of course, that position is very important for sharing out local considerations to the state level, but also bringing those state considerations to the local level. So Russell will now serve in that position and he's going to do a great job. All right, so that is our consent agenda. So if anybody would like, we can pull one or both of the items off of the consent agenda to be made basically a discussion item. But if not, we approve the consent agenda as a whole. And so it would be nice to entertain a motion to do so.
I'll motion to approve the consent items.
Okay, so Senator Jenny Baxton has made a motion to approve the consent agenda, item 6.2 and 6.3.
Second.
It's been seconded by Senator Ellen Carey. You can vote yes, no, or you can abstain. Benjamin Reyes.
Yes.
Counselor Jen.
Yes.
Ellen.
Yes.
Jenny.
Yes.
Joy.
Yes.
Dee Dee.
Yes.
Elizabeth.
Yes.
Kathy.
Yes.
Robin.
Yes.
Jess.
Yes.
Robbie.
Yes.
Ruth.
Yes.
Kara.
Yes.
Russell, he came in. Trisha.
Yes.
And Anna.
Yes.
Okay. Consent agenda approved. Thank you. All right, information items. So the hardworking members of the ad hoc committee of the Senate that are working on our constitutional changes, specifically Ellen Carey and Ana Garcia, wanted to bring forward the proposed changes that they are wordsmithing and working on now so that it can be shared out faculty-wide. As per our Constitution, to make constitutional changes after the petition is vetted and accepted by the Senate, there is a 20 business day timeline that must be adhered to. So that 20-day business day timeline is up on Wednesday, October 6th. So after we listen to some of our faculty presentations, we need to either discuss and then approve of the proposed changes so that they can be shared out faculty-wide, or change them how you all see fit, or reject them completely and not have any constitutional changes. So in an effort to, share it out far and wide now, to try and get ahead of this work and get feedback now, the proposed changes are in the document attached to item 7.1. So senators especially, please share that document out now so that faculty can review the proposed changes and get back to us, you, specifically Anna and Ellen, between now and basically Friday or this weekend, so that when we post the next agenda, we can have most of the issues or questions that might arise hammered out. So please, senators, be sharing that out. Okay, item 7.2, Dr. Kathy Scott mostly went through for us, so I don't have anything to add. A lot of this item language was the email that she shared out with faculty. The attachments are there, so if you can't find her faculty email or campus-wide email, please go ahead and direct people to this agenda item, and they can get the flyers and links to everything as well. So 7.3, student experiences and preferences for spring student survey is being conducted right now by the district. So that the link to it was also in Dr. Kathy Scott's same email about the October 1st vaccine deadline. There was also a QR code. You will also notice as you log into Canvas, the QR code is posted at the top of Canvas. This is to collect students' experiences in survey format, as well as share out their preferences for ongoing class and services at SBCC. I highlighted this next item in my Senate email Sunday, posting the agenda, which is the USC Race and Equity Centers delivering the promise of progressive policy, strengthening the academic Senate professional development in California's community colleges report. This is a groundbreaking, stunning report. I think as an academic Senate, we should probably, create at least an ad hoc group to comb through this report and pull out recommendations and practices that we should be entertaining as a Senate. We should probably be doing this sooner rather than later. So right now it's on our agenda just as an information item. I would love for senators to start taking at least a cursory review of this document. And if not a cursory review, then maybe a closer review of this document, so that when we come back to this, perhaps create a resolution, perhaps make a motion for an ad hoc committee work, that we're all well vetted in this document and the recommendations that are there. Ruth Morales, as our past president, conducted and concluded our non-credit senator election. So Tricia Matone will be continuing on in her role as non-credit part-time faculty senator. So congratulations, Tricia, we're happy to have you. So this will be her, she'll have a Senate role for 3 full years as per our terms. Item 7.6, if you weren't previously aware, Santa Barbara City College was awarded a Title V grant. The title of our grant through the grant application is known as RISE. So you'll be hearing more about this. And Dr. Melissa Menendez was hired as the grant director. And so she will be taking on that role really soon. The grant objectives are there. And as somebody that served on the committee, we are very lucky to have Dr. Melissa Menendez as a colleague and fellow faculty member. Item 7.7, I already forwarded this to the department chair of ESL, but it touches on a lot of different areas of the college. So I felt as though it was important to also include it on our agenda as an information item. A report came out from the Intersegmental Committee of Academic Senates in California on ESL students. So the Intersegmental Committee is made up of UC Academic Senates, CSU Academic Senates, and then California Community College Academic Senates. And again, they gave a really nice, stunning, in-depth report about our ESL students that you see across the state, talking about the specific challenges that these students face. And it's not just that they want to engage in remedial coursework, but there's also barriers and other misconceptions. So again, as professionals at this college where we all have ESL students in all of our classes, and then also we have the academic program in both credit and non-credit for ESL students, I highly recommend you at least taking a cursory review of that report, if not a more in-depth view of that long report. Item 7.8. So Dr. Kathy Scott discussed this a bit in her EVP report. There is widespread enrollment fraud going on in the state. You may have read about it in the LA Times or another news source. But the Chancellor's Office did prepare a memo, and there are a number of items in there, especially for instructional faculty best practices. It is definitely things that we should be doing already. Dr. Scott already mentioned many of them, but also, you know, Mike Medell works with us and reminds us that we need to do our drop rosters. We need to be looking at our attendance and cross-checking that to our rosters. So there's a lot of really helpful hints on how to mitigate that fraud, and also just things that we should be doing as professionals at a California community college. All right, item 8.1. Oh, unless there's any questions about anything I said. I was screaming through that. Okay, item 8.1, we will discuss the guidelines for fall 2021 faculty ranking. Before we do so, I always forget to do a call for public comment. So I'll do a quick call for public comment. Would anybody like to give public comment before we address and discuss this item as a Senate? Okay, I'm seeing none. So we will go back to our discussion. All right, so all of these decisions must be made before we start our presentation and our ranking. So if we can't get through all of these items in 8.1 today, we will have to have a special meeting of the Academic Senate scheduled. Many of these practices are Senate norms that we are inheriting from previous years. So perhaps this might not be lengthy, but if we do need to take an in-depth conversation on any of these items, please be aware that we will need to settle them before we start presentations and before we start ranking, so that everybody is aware of what we're doing, how we're doing it, and why we're doing it. Okay, so with that in mind, as we move through these items, I would like to make the suggestion that senators perhaps make separate motions. So we handle these items one by one, and then motion to approve and accept them as discussed, amended, or as posted, however that will go. Yeah, it will increase the number of different votes, but this allows us to talk about each one separately so that we're not doing them all at once and then somebody saying, hey, in this one document, and having it derail the whole thing. Okay, so the different items. We have the criteria that we use for faculty ranking, which has been updated this year. The last time it was updated was in fall of 2017. So the updates that were included in our our criteria for faculty ranking came directly from the Anti-Racism Best Practices ad hoc committee that we saw a presentation from in the spring, and then we heard from again at our July meeting. So those are the only changes. Senate already previously unanimously recommended those changes to be incorporated. So now they just are in the full criteria ranking document. Okay, the other thing that we have posted is our method for faculty ranking. We use what's called the WOPAT method, named after Ron Wopat, and then Anna Parmalee and I, during a summer work time together, updated it a little bit. So now the joke is that it's the Parmalee Napoleon WOPAT method, but we've been using this ranking method for a number of years. And so the ranking process is published here for our consideration and our use, or not, again this year. Also is the Senate hearing schedule. So the way I created this, just so you know, I used a random number generator, and then I just ranked from low to high and then just assigned times. This is so that I wasn't biasing the time slots in any way at all. And I was just using that random number generator to create time slots for our department chairs or department members to provide their presentation to us. And then probably the biggest thing that we'll need to discuss is number 4, the dean's ranking. In some years, for a long time, the Senate had a long history of hearing the dean's rankings before we did our own ranking, individual ranking. And then a couple years ago, it was pointed out that that biases the ranking even more than it already is as a biased process. And so it was done away with. And then the following year, people said, no, we want it back. And every year since, there's been a discussion about it and either a commitment to use it or a commitment to not use it. And we need to make that decision now if we want to know the dean's rankings before we rank. So those are the 4 items. Perhaps we can do an easy one first. We'd need a motion to approve, a second, and then we can have discussion, and then we can do our vote, and we can do, if somebody needs to update the motion, we can do a friendly amendment, or we can amend the motion and go from there. Makes sense? So to me, if it were me, and it's not, it's you guys, but I'm thinking the accepting of the schedule is the easy one, because it's like a schedule that was made with a random number generator. Robbie.
I move to accept the schedule.
Okay, cool.
Wait.
Joy.
I just looked at it before a meeting. I want to trade with marine diving. I have a conflict. So can we, how can I do, I didn't want to take meeting time to do this, but I need to jump in front of Robbie.
So Senate steering discussed this exact issue, and we've had this issue previously where the assigned times do not work for the department or the individual giving the presentation. And so in an effort to not have everything be tangled web to unweave, what we've offered to people is to have them do a pre-recorded presentation to the Senate during the time. And I will tell the department chairs this when I send out the email. I would argue that the pre-recorded presentation is actually a really nice way to share your information with the Senate. It allows you to be really, to allow it to edit it and to be really concise and all of those things. And now that we've all been online for so long, we all have, most of us have those skills down. So I don't think it's asking too much. So does that work for you, Joy?
Absolutely does. And I'm going to just jump right behind Robbie again then.
Okay.
Thanks.
Cool. Robbie?
Aye. What?
Oh, your hand's still up. Okay.
Driving with my blinker on, sorry.
Okay. So Robbie made a motion to accept the schedule as posted. Do we have a second?
I second.
Okay, so Joy seconds. Thank you for that. Any more discussion on this item? Questions, comments, concerns? Okay, I'm seeing none. Coolness. Where's my roll call? Okay. Yes, no, or abstain to accept the schedule for presentations as posted. Ben.
Yes.
Counselor Jen.
Yes.
Ellen.
Yeah.
Jenny.
Yes.
Joy.
Yes.
Dee Dee.
Yes.
Elizabeth.
Yes.
Kathy.
Yes.
Robbie. No, Robin.
Yes, only my dad calls me Robbie.
Jess.
Yes.
Robbie. Russell emailed me. He's unable to call in. Trisha
Yes.
and Anna.
Yes.
There we go. Coolness. All right. So our schedule done. Cool. Now we have the ranking and the criteria next. And if people are, if we don't need to discuss these at length, maybe we can do these two at once. Unless you do want to discuss them at length. Robbie?
I just have a question. At what point do we decide whether or not we're going to hear the dean's rankings?
Well, we can certainly discuss that now. I was thinking that we would get the other two items out of the way and then discuss that,
So
that
there's
item, because that one seems to be the, what's the good word? Boondoggle of one?
So this one right here doesn't involve that, in case anybody is not making a motion for that reason.
Yeah, I mean, there's no motion. I'm literally staring at you senators waiting for somebody to do something. So like, we need to accept or reject the criteria that was presented to you all. We need to accept or reject our ranking methods. So.
Okay, I move to accept both.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion on the table to accept and use the posted and distributed considerations for ranking, and they are not organized in any way, right? They're just, here are the considerations with a nod that this is a very convoluted, complicated system. And the WOPAT Parmalee Napoleon method of ranking. Any discussion on those two documents at this time?
I have a question. Robbie made the motion. Who seconded?
Robin.
Robin, thank you.
Jenny?
I just have one question about the bullet vitality of the program. I feel like this has come up in the past, but there's like a big picture issue there where if a position is not replaced or filled, the program completely goes away or is in serious jeopardy. And so I'm just wondering about any guidance or if there's a conversation about, to what extent the Senate determines that. I mean, I know our rankings are just recommendations anyway, so maybe that's not a huge issue, but it's a big issue.
Until Dr. Anthony Beebe, our recommendations were always like adhered to, so to speak, as I understand the history. It was Dr. Beebe's tenure where that tradition was deviated from. So let's just say, like, without like assuming the same, the Senate's recommendation do carry a heavy weight. However, it is true that they are just recommendations to the superintendent president, and they come forward with the dean's rankings as well for consideration. So yes, this is a big part of the responsibility of ranking because when a position does not get filled, replaced, it can, hobble a department, so to speak, because they're, quote, down a full-time faculty member, or worse, eliminate the program in its entirety. So this is something for the Senate to consider. Because I don't think that we want program elimination through attrition. We've been saying this for years, right? And yet, here we are, still. Structural deficit, programs on the line, all of that. So we have a big conversation to have once we see the presentations. We often deliberate before we rank, or sometimes we just go straight into ranking. And before we commit to our rankings and recommend them, there is also discussion around where they landed. So there's opportunity in here for all of us to contribute to that conversation as needed, but we all need to do exactly that, because some people might feel one way about program, requests for replacement and so on. So I don't know that I added any substance to what you said, Jenny, but yeah, I mean, that's part of the heavy burden that is this process. I will share, at this time, I do not know how many full-time positions that we might get this year. It's my understanding that we have, I think, $1 million from the state in like extra money to fund full-time positions, in addition to our own like savings from the SERP and replacing not all, but some of them. So I do know that we will have definitely some positions, and yeah, it's going to be our job to rank them, and knowing that the majority of them will not be replaced or offered as a new position. So do you want to change the ranking document in some way, or? Okay. Other discussion points about the criteria or ranking methods? Okay. We shall do our roll call vote then. Ben?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Ellen?
Yes.
Jenny?
Yes.
Joy?
Yes.
Dee Dee?
Yes.
Elizabeth?
Yes.
Kathy?
Yes.
Robin?
Yes.
Jess? Was that a yes? I missed it. Jess?
Sorry, I didn't unmute. Yes.
Okay. I was looking at the list, not you. I missed it. Robbie?
Yes.
Ruth?
Yes.
Tara?
Yes.
Russell? Not here. Trisha?
Yes.
And Anna.
Yes.
Okay, so we have our, Franny wants cookie butter. We have our criteria for our ranking, and we have our schedule, and we have our ranking method, which brings us to the last item. Do we want or not the dean's ranking? Somebody talk so I can get Franny cookie butter. Ruth,
My
go.
hand is up. So I'll say what I say every year, which is yes. I think there's value in having this information. I think it allows us to update our priors about the state of these departments as a whole. I remember one year where we didn't. I think it was the first year I was in it, I don't remember. And we got to a point where we could use that information, and I was like, hello, we should have had this information. Why did we not have it at the table? So I'm a strong advocate of getting their input, just so we could have a better idea of what we're facing.
All right, I think this will be the most efficient if we organize the conversation in this way. Ruth just spoke in favor of hearing the dean recommendation. So let's assume that that is the majority prevailing point. So if somebody does not want to hear the dean's ranking before we rank, please speak to that now. Trisha, is that you?
Well, I already had my hand up before you made that thing. And I was just saying, is it about the timing? And I guess that's something we can all personally control, you know, and I think that I remember the issue last year was that it might have too much of an influence. But if we kind of all made our internal rankings and then got that extra information afterwards, you know, that might be, or not afterwards, but kind of maybe as a practice, kind of looked at it later, that might sort of mitigate the concern that it might have undue influence. But again, that could be like our own personal methods of ranking.
Okay. Joy?
Yeah, I have a clarifying question. So the deans listen along with all of us to the presentations that are given in Senate, or do they just look at the narratives that were turned in, or how do the deans make their decision and when and you know, and then, yeah, being new, I don't know what that sequence is.
Oftentimes deans sit in on our Senate meetings, yes. Not necessarily though, but of course our meetings are recorded so they can go back to the recording. Typically the presentations are for us and our ranking though. Deans work with their department chairs and have conversations and have intimate knowledge of their programs and under their purview. And they basically have a dean's council discussion amongst themselves for their own ranking. So yes, but you know, not the presentations are for us.
So before we, you know, or who the faculty come before us and make their presentations, the deans pretty much have already decided what their rankings are then.
I don't know the timing of their rankings.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And I don't know the timing of their rankings, especially this year with so much other stuff going on. It might be after, it might be concurrent with ours. I don't know. Jenny?
I'm leaning toward not wanting to hear the dean's voice. For a couple reasons you just mentioned. I think we are the faculty body and we are actually listening to the presentations. We are the audience for the chair's presentations. And I think we're all focused here listening together to them. And so I want my vote to reflect what I think my faculty voice is. And I want to hear from faculty voice on Senate, without the dean's vote biasing people's choices or how they might weigh their votes. I think the dean's voice is important. It's going to get sent to the EVP and president anyway. And so they're going to hear that. And I think the deans have different considerations when they are ranking as well that may not be faculty considerations. And so for me, I want the kind of pure, unadulterated faculty voice.
Thanks for that, Jenny. So we've heard from Ruth that wants it, Jenny that doesn't want it, Trisha who kind of wants it, but maybe after, just to know. Robbie?
I'm sort of right between Ruth and Jenny's positions. And I think if I had to pick, I would say and propose that we do get it because there's no such thing as bad information. But I would ask everybody to bear in mind what your biases are as you're making your decisions. And what, you know, when you hear the information from the deans, what are you hearing that really benefits faculty and what are you hearing that really benefits something else?
Ellen?
Okay, so first, as a librarian, I just have to tease Robbie a little bit about the idea that there's no such thing as bad information. But on this topic, if I remember correctly, and I might not, last year we didn't get the dean's ranking until the meeting at which we were doing our ranking. So that allowed me, as I was going through all of the written proposals and then hearing the presentations, to make my own, unbiased by the dean's assessment and then bring that in at the end. I'm not sure if that was actually the timeline, but I think that might be a way to address it. And sort of meet the needs of those who do want some information about that before doing our final ranking, but also go through much of our assessment process without that information.
Kathy?
I'm very much in favor of having the dean's opinion. We've done this, like you said, Rayanne, different ways in the years past, but I've always found that information to be helpful. I don't think it needs to particularly bias our opinion as faculty, but there's just some information that we don't have, and it's helpful to have everybody's opinion, and we certainly can make our own opinion. I don't know that it's changed anybody's mind over the years, but I think it's good information to have.
Trisha?
So it is just the ranking, right? There's no notes or comments or anything else, right? Is that what we're talking about? Okay, so I'm wondering like what is it, I just want to get clarified because I'm leaning more towards yes too, but is it just that somebody might, I'm wondering like for Ruth and Kathy, is it that you see that there's like a discrepancy between maybe how the Senate was voting and the ones, and then maybe trying to find out why and clarifying it? I'm just kind of curious how it helps. But again, we don't have to talk about it now if it's going to be a lengthy discussion.
No, we definitely have to talk about it now.
Okay.
We definitely have to figure this out like today.
If it's too lengthy, I mean, like the what does it add? Just knowing the deans. I mean, I'm not saying it doesn't, but I was curious, what does it add?
It adds the administrative perspective of the school and planning and resources is what it adds. And I think, I mean, deans might have, so let me share this. So deans definitely have intimate knowledge of the areas that are under them, right? As the dean in that area. But the fact that they might have information that we might have, maybe Kathy meant the same thing that I'm saying now, which is they have, expertise in the area. But to me, it's the department chairs or the presenter's job to share out the relevant information so that the Senate can make an informed and fair decision, right? So just think about it that way. And if they aren't bringing something forward, why would the dean have it and we wouldn't? So those are some of the questions I'm having. Robin?
Yeah, I'm finding myself swayed by some of those comments as well. If all we're getting is the ranking, we could assume that they have information that we don't have that we should consider, but we don't have access to what they considered. So we don't have the opportunity to consider that information. It's just their ranking out there. And while we can also assume that deans, carefully consider the way we do, we should also remember that nobody is free of bias and that deans have an obligation to advocate for their areas to some degree. And I want to put this in a way that is not insulting to anybody, but you know, that we all know that in some meetings there are dominant voices, senior voices, people who talk louder and longer. And so I don't want to assume that deans make their decisions strictly based on better information or more information or inside information. I want to keep in mind that they are as susceptible to the same things that we all are. I did hear Ellen's comment and think if I were to get the dean's rankings, I wouldn't want it before we all had a chance to consider all the information, hear the presentations, and deliberate and ask questions and make our own rankings first. So if we do vote to hear their input, I would vote not to hear it until we're actually doing our first round ranking. But I'm surprised to find myself leaning towards not hearing it, not considering it in our rankings, because it will be considered by the EVP and the president in making the final decisions.
All right, let's start finalizing our views. Robin is mostly not for it, maybe. Jenny, and then Ruth.
Okay, sorry, I know I've already talked once, but something Robin said also just made me want to add that the deans, as we said, have different considerations for why and how they would rank. And we have our faculty criteria that we've agreed to for ranking, and our criteria might be very different than the dean's criteria. And obviously we don't need to, and many of us may not even take into account what the dean's ranking is, but I just want to emphasize that the faculty criteria that we have approved is what I think we should stick to the most and what matters the most. The deans may not have the same criteria. So to me, I like to hear the faculty voice in the vote more so than the deans.
It's a really good point about our criteria. For sure. Ruth.
I do agree that our criteria is important and we should definitely base our faculty ranking on that. But I do, as I said earlier, think that this information is valuable. And someone asked if all we get is a ranking. No, we get the ranking and then a short note where they've written, I went to look it up right now. I was like, oh my God, am I losing my mind? Did they not include a note? Otherwise, why would I just want numbers? They included a note. And it wasn't long or extensive at all. It was pretty short. So it is not simply just, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 type of thing.
So
and if you want to look at that list to see that the note is actually short but informative, is October 28th of 2020 agenda.
So I'm not sure where the majority of the Senate is at. I feel like we've heard from both sides. So just kind of hoping somebody brings us on home. Trisha.
I just want to say that what Ruth just said, that is what I was like kind of asking about, because if, again, about the timing, if I do my ranking and then I kind of compare it maybe to the dean's ranking and there's a big discrepancy, then I might want to go, wait, did I miss something? Is there going to be information that I didn't consider? And then I can go and look at that little description. And if it's something that's not really relevant to the faculty criteria, then it's not going to change my ranking. But if it's something that maybe didn't occur to me that is relevant, then I think that might be the information that would be useful. And I would not like to find out about it like a minute before we're ranking. Oops, sorry, where's my phone going? Because I like to have time to think about it.
Well,
sorry, I was rushed there then. I was trying to not have the phone ring on your guys' ear.
We are gonna find out the minute before we rank.
The deans?
Yes. Because we're a Brown Act committee. So unless we have a special meeting ahead of time to hear the dean's rankings and have it be shared out publicly, we have 2 weeks of presentations and then our meeting to rank. And we can't push our ranking out any further because of the HR timeline and all of that. So we're up against a time crunch here. October 20th is the day we have to rank. We will not hear the dean's rankings prior to that. So you're either going to hear them the minute before we rank. Okay, fine. 5 minutes before we rank, 10 minutes before we rank, but then we rank and that's it.
Or 3 days when the agenda is published.
So typically it has not been shared out in that way. Typically it's only come in an oral report and then attached to the agenda in real time. So that's why you're going back and seeing it. It hasn't been shared publicly written. We could certainly ask for that, but doesn't mean that we'll get it. Can only go on past practice at this point, which is a really dumb way to do it in 2021 because nothing's normal anymore. Anna and then Robin. And like I said, I really would love to wrap this up and come to some sort of decision as a body, what we're doing. Anna?
I was just gonna make a motion that we do hear the dean's rankings, because if you don't want to read them, you don't have to. I guess we're getting them right before, so hopefully everyone's prepared and you can vote yes or no.
So
I'll second that.
wait. Typically they are shared out orally at the meeting.
Yes, I hear that.
Okay.
I'm just making a motion. You can vote yes or no, whatever your thoughts are.
Right.
I vote you hear them.
Okay. All right. Right on. So we hear them at the meeting. So there's a motion on the table to hear the dean's ranking and a second made by Ruth Morales. Any more discussion at this time? Robin?
So I thanks, Ruth, for identifying where the dean's rankings notes were, so that we could have a quick look. The notes that are in the last year's ranking are things like a failed search and why the ranking was prioritized, a retirement that's leaving only one full-time faculty member, and the importance of having one full-time faculty or more than one full-time faculty for the yearly accreditation reports and, for example, health information technology. I'm not seeing anything that I wouldn't certainly expect to be in the chair's presentation to Senate. So I'm struggling if anybody can help with what information the deans might have that would not be presented to us by the chair of the program. I can't see anything that I wouldn't think a chair would highlight. So I'm wondering if somebody can enlighten me on what additional information might be relevant or critical to us.
I can respond with, well, if it's not additional, it can't hurt. And the second thing will be, have you seen some of these presentations?
Why, Ruth, I
Most
don't know
are
what you
good.
mean.
Okay, I will say that. Okay. There's just been somewhere I'm like grasping at straws there. Like, what is there?
Yeah, and that's just what I was going to offer, you know, the style or what the department chair chooses to share might be different than what a dean's intimate knowledge of the department's needs are. Kathy, and then I think we should vote.
The only thing I'm going to add to this is, as you know, any of you who have been through this process before, we often have issues with the data and how the data is interpreted. And often the deans can clarify some of the data discrepancies that we have questions about, and they address that a little bit when they give us some some input. So that can be helpful also.
Okay, so we have a motion on the table to hear the dean's rankings in advance of Senate rankings. It was made by Ana Garcia, was seconded by Ruth Morales. We had further discussion, and now we're going to do a roll call vote. So if you want to hear the dean's rankings prior to senators voting, you will vote yes. If you do not want to hear it, you should vote no. And abstention is a non-vote. Can I also share with you all that you should vote no if you don't want to support this? I think we really need to use abstentions like in that rare moment of either you think the vote is ridiculous and you don't want to even have your name attached to the vote, or when you truly can't decide what your vote is. I think as senators, we all need to engage in these processes and either support things by voting yes or vote no and vote them down. So I'd just like to say that on something like this, where it's like not that controversial, I'd love there to be no abstentions, and I'd love for us to practice like taking a stand. So let's see it. Okay, yes, no, or abstention. Benjamin Reyes.
Yes.
Counselor Jen.
Yes.
Ellen.
Yes.
Jenny.
No.
Yes. Love it. Joy.
No.
No. Dee Dee. Dee Dee, you there? Come back. Elizabeth.
Yes.
Okay. Kathy.
Yes.
Robin.
No.
Jess.
I'm sorry you're running out of fingers on that side, but yes.
Robbie.
No. Yes.
Ruth.
Yes.
Tara.
Yes.
Russell is not here. Trisha.
Yes.
And Anna.
Yes.
And Dee Dee, if she's available. Okay, so we have a non-vote from Dee Dee. Russell's absent, so that's 11-3. We will hear the dean's rankings prior to our own rankings. So I will let Dr. Scott know that she will need to get us that information. And I will also share with the deans that we are interested in hearing that. All right, so is there any other items for next week that we need to discuss? I don't think there are. I think we're good. All right, concludes item 8.1. 8.2, Senate recommendations for scheduling assignments. So we had this on our agenda last week. We shared it out, hopefully, as senators further than we did the previous week. And we were soliciting feedback on our document. So it looks like Ana Garcia added some comments on the document, and I saw Elizabeth Chisholm add a few, but then she got rid of them, it looks like. So does that mean that people were mostly happy and content with the Senate's recommendations and you didn't get any feedback from faculty either way? Okay. All right, well, let us consider a couple of Anna's comments because those were added after the agenda was posted, and then we can make some recommendations around this document. Robin?
I did get some feedback from my division. Not a lot. There was not agreement on support for the document, but someone did ask a question, which was if I had information about how many faculty take on overloads above the allowed. Not names of faculty, but just how many, what the percentage of faculty is taking on above the current 21 TLUs. And the reasons for overloads. And I mean, I have anecdotal information, but I don't have that data. Do we have that data at all?
Not really. We have some historical data around it. You know, when the TLU limit discussion came to the Senate previously, I think that was in the fall of 2018. There was, during one of the agendas posting it, you know, it was shared out which departments, you know, and what TLUs people were doing. So it didn't share out the name, but it was like, you know, easy to put 2 and 2 together when the department was shared. So we don't have anything recent. You know, I mean, clearly this person was wondering if that would contribute to whether or not we would include this in there. And of course there's like, I mean, I think it's hard to say, like there's a million reasons why people have quote overloads. You know, some departments say it's hard to find adjuncts or, you know, keep adjuncts. Some people like to make a lot of money and take on the overloads. Some people, you know, the list goes on. So I think it's really varied, and I think it's hard to give a blanket statement. So I don't think we have that percentage, but I think the way that we want to think about this as a Senate is not worry about the number and not worry about the players, but make a values statement.
Yeah, so that's what I communicated, you know, that it's more a statement of values. And the response was sort of, well, if this is not a pervasive problem, you know, in terms of numbers, shouldn't departments address that individually? You know, it was, I mean, yeah, I mean, some questions we're not going to answer, we're not going to be able to give an answer to that sways somebody if they're not in favor of this, you know?
Well, I don't know about overloads being pervasive. I would put money on the fact that they are, because it's been such a boondoggle for our union for so long and such a lightning rod of a topic.
Yeah.
So I, you know, maybe pervasive isn't the right word, but let's say some, you know, very interested parties that get a lot of attention and respect on campus are the ones that may have that, and so the status quo remains. But also, I do think, sorry guys, I didn't get much sleep last night. I do think that we need to think about this carefully and make some recommendations. We use the language around incentivizing full-time faculty to teach in person as part of the overload agreement. Let me say this. I don't know exact numbers about overloads, but if you look at our current posted schedule for the fall, you will notice it is very obvious that full-timers are continuing to teach online, and that our part-timers are the ones that are in the face-to-face environments. And so we can talk preferences and everything all day, but there is a very obvious trend happening right now. So the question is, why?
Yeah. So that was the main thing that I emphasized. The other question was, are we talking overloads above 21 units or are we talking overloads period, anything above contract? My understanding is we're talking above contract, correct?
Mhm. Yeah, an overload is over 15 TLUs.
Exactly, yeah.
Oh, I think we should use new nomenclature. An overload is over 21. Other questions, comments, or concerns about the document in front of us? Or comments that you heard from your faculty?
I'm trying, oh, sorry, Anna, go.
I didn't know if I should talk about the comments that I have in there. I added some bullets that were, or I guess one bullet that was requested, which I think was up above under the part-time faculty there in pink. So we can talk about whether we want to add that. And then I had some suggestions about clarifying the language for the bottom two bullets.
Yep. So,
and then I guess I also just wanted to reiterate that these are recommendations. We don't have capacity to, or any authority to hold people accountable to this. And again, it's a value statement. If overloads aren't an issue in your department and this is how you function, then more power to you. And if not, then maybe it gives you the opportunity to revisit how your assignments process works, and a reminder that, you know, part-timers are people who have needs, who contribute a lot to our college, and, you know, bringing some things to the forefront that may not be things that you regularly think about because you don't have to.
Ruth?
Anna said in part what I was going to say, which was that they are recommendations. But I did feel the need to voice an email as one of, or a message that someone sent me about in social science about scheduling based on pedagogy, and that depending on how the classes run, that they were arguing for providing online courses because the pedagogy requires a lot more interaction between students, so that they were saying that in person, it may not be possible to have it. So I thought I'd make sure I pointed that out, or I brought that up since it was a message sent to me.
Can you please expand further? I don't understand.
They were arguing that, saying that they shouldn't be forced, and I said, no one's forcing you to take it in person, because their particular classes may need to have more student-to-student interactions, and that by having them in classrooms because of social distancing, they may not be able to have as many or as small of student group interactions as they're used to, or as they require based on their pedagogy. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Joy?
I'll just say I didn't get any reactions from the Fine Arts Division, which I was curious about, but maybe some of you are having this experience because in the art department, you know, because of the lower enrollments from COVID and such, we've eliminated a lot of our studio art adjuncts. And so it's kind of a moot point. I mean, we're just offering fewer sections, and they were the first to go, so full-time could make loads. So it feels really awful. And we have not rehired adjuncts that have been with us for like 20 years. So, I mean, it's not really a for or against this. It's just the reality of what's happening to adjuncts because of our lower enrollment. And, you know, a lot of the deans are asking us to run full classes. And so, you know, we're offering fewer sections. So that's just what I wanted to point out that, and I know the film production folks are in that bind. And I think there are a number of other departments under the Fine Arts Division that had that happen to them. So that's it.
Okay, so we have a document in front of us. Anna, through her constituents, added one bullet point. And then there was some discussion points. Seems like a lot of people did not get a lot of feedback, which is surprising, but okay. So shall we take Anna's points one by one? Robin?
Could I just quickly add that I didn't receive feedback from the majority of my division, and the feedback that I received was from people who tentatively opposed. And I think that may be a common thing that, you know, I can't remember who I had a conversation with recently, that it was when people are okay with things, they don't tend to say much. And when they oppose them is when they send an email. So that may be why some areas didn't get a lot of feedback. And also, I mean, similar to Joy's area, in our area, we don't have very many adjuncts right now. And so it didn't seem to affect the people who were getting the email.
Yeah, the Yelp theory of human behavior, right? You only create a Yelp review if you hate it. So you only heard from your faculty that hate something. Yeah, no, I get that. Which to me means the majority of faculty support this. Is that? Okay. I'm seeing some head nodding. That's good. Okay, so taking a look at Anna's added bullet points, there was, oh, I'm not screen sharing. There was this last bullet point, screen share, Safari, share. Okay, so it was this bullet point, due to the nature of not having job security plus substantially lower wages than tenured faculty, many part-time faculty also work other jobs. This can make it harder to be flexible with their schedule. So that was one new bullet point added since it was posted on our agenda. And then Anna mentioned these two comments, calling out more of the language in Article 12, asking these to be made more clear and explicit in what they mean, and then use overload opportunities for full-time faculty to incentivize in-person offerings. So I will share with you a sentiment from those higher up at our college. No, let me frame this differently. So earlier in the semester, we received an email from EVP Kathy Scott indicating that departments need to be at 65% face-to-face, 35% online. And then that got pulled back. And it said that this is where we're shooting for. And this is our suggestion, do your best to work towards that. And they gave us a number of guidelines to work towards that, right? Activity classes. It was a long document, I can't remember all. As of a couple weeks ago, it was the feeling of the deans, as I understood it, and being communicated out, that we were not making, the college was not making good progress on moving towards that 65% face-to-face. And so, you know, as I tried to share at the department chairs meeting, I think we have a real opportunity here as faculty, as department chairs, to take ownership in our schedule and work towards returning classes face-to-face. And if we don't do that, will the decisions be made for us? Right? So it's my understanding that we're not well on our way to. Okay, I'll get you tape in just a second.
Mama's in an important meeting. That's yours?
Yeah.
Okay. Why
And,
is Mom on your sandwich? Okay.
And we're not making good progress
Come here.
towards that, perhaps. It's hard to say for sure because our schedule isn't due until September 30th to our deans. But just the general impression is that many of us are still scheduling classes online. And I think a very valid criticism, if I could speak frankly to faculty at this point, is we wanted the vaccine mandate. And we worked very hard to get it. And so now we have it. And why aren't we moving back to campus with it? And in private meetings I've been in, I'll share with you all that you know, COVID safety is a 4-prong approach, right? Or the sliced cheese model, Swiss cheese model, where it's vaccines, vaccinations, social distancing and masking, as well as HVAC and contact tracing. And I don't know that we've seen the contact tracing and HVAC safety that we need yet, but assuming that the district is working on that, why aren't we moving back face-to-face? And why are those with more privileged faculty positions choosing to remain online? I think this is the conversation we need to have as a faculty body. So how do we have it? Joy?
Well, could we make some recommendation, like if the administration wants us to be around 60% back, and then, you know, maybe permanently have, I guess they were at 16% of all classes online pre-COVID, and now, you know, maybe we'll hover somewhere at 30%. Could we make the request that full-timers mirror that they're offering 60% of their teaching load face-to-face? I just know some of people in my department live out of Santa Barbara, and it's pretty convenient for them not to come in. So, you know, I wonder if we could just have what people think about that. That just seems kind of fair to me, so we don't kind of get into balancing each other out. So, you know, one person lives far away, so they sort of put the local person on notice that they should help out by teaching face-to-face, something like that. So I'd put out there, everybody should have a 60-30 ratio at the minimum. You know, if they want to teach fully face-to-face, well, great.
As I understand it, that was communicated in some departments and it did not go over well. So I think a lot of people have ownership over their intellectual property that they created for their online classes, and now they want to use it.
Oh, well, that's interesting because, yeah, in my department, that suggestion was never made that we do a 60-30.
Yeah, so it got communicated out in different ways, right? And I think, well, no, it got communicated out in one way. And I think some departments were trying to implement, okay, everybody does 60% face-to-face and 30% online, or maybe, you know, this person has certain circumstances that they can't, you know, that they don't want to be back face-to-face yet. Okay, we'll work with that person, right? I think, you know, I think that is what I would love to have seen us do. And work together as a faculty and talk with your chairs, and the chairs talk with their faculty. And instead what happened was some chairs heard 60-30 or 65-35, whatever it is, 60-40, and said, okay, let's schedule our classes. And then full-timers were like, we want all the full, you know, we want online. And then what was left for the part-timers was the face-to-face. And that's kind of where this conversation started. So in an ideal world, yeah, we could figure it out ourselves. But, you know, when faculty and department chairs are reverting back to assignment rights and previously taught and this, that, and the other, and adjuncts are going, so I have to go back to the classroom, right? That's where this tough conversation is happening. And what I shared at the department chairs meeting, because the department chairs were saying, we don't want to make this like, we need more guidance. We need more guidance. We want more direction. I called out that department chairs need to be brave and engage in this work, because I do not think we actually want administration making scheduling decisions for us, do we? Because if that's what we want and we can't figure this out ourselves, we might get that. And I don't think we actually want that. And I'm very worried about literally asking for that in this time of unknowing and weirdness, right? So like, can we live to our values, equity, you know, inclusion, making decisions for the community, where this case, the community is like your department community and your students, and not just revert to privilege and past assignments. Jenny, and then Robbie, and then Margarita.
Yeah, I think it is so important to cultivate the culture in the department. So I think, first of all, this document's important as a values document that hopefully, you know, Ray at chairs meetings and some of the chairs listening in can use to say we've got faculty support saying we really feel this is important. But just at the departmental level, I think we have to emphasize that we need to cultivate this culture better for spring semester. I know in my department, our chair, Dr. Menendez, even before all this, was really good about sending emails for scheduling purposes, emphasizing a need to balance between different modalities, and especially to take part-timers into consideration so the burden doesn't fall on them, and to think about our students' needs. And, you know, the chair needs to be the one, I think, cultivating that in the departments. And if the chair is resistant to that, or isn't doing enough for that, the faculty in making their schedule is not going to be willing to make enough of a change.
Exactly. Robbie?
Two thoughts. One is that since this is a values statement, I don't hear any disagreement about the values. It seems like what we're talking about is how it's going to actually play out, but I don't hear any disagreement about the values, and I think we should approve this document. The second thing is that it's just remarkable to me how many requests or movements we're seeing toward full-time faculty staying online. And since this was not happening before COVID, it just seems opportunistic, and nobody is calling that out. And I kind of think it's appalling. We're not an online institution. And I think well, that's all I'm going to say. But I think we should approve this document.
Well, so two things. One, whenever we approve things, we should always recognize unintended consequences of approving a document. So I do want us I want to caution us, and by the way, I'm a huge fan of this document. I think we should pass it. But I want to caution us to say, oh, it's just a value statement, because we are the academic senate. We are the professional voice of the faculty. And so when we pass through our motions, through our resolutions, and approve something, that may affect bargaining power of our collective bargaining unit, right? Or the administration might say, the Senate passed this, right? Like, and that's why it's important that we pass this. But I just want to caution us. We're not doing this for fun and games so that we can pat ourselves on the back and say, yay us, look at how supportive of part-timers we are. Like, no, we're passing this to say, this is our values, and it is being shared out to give weight to conversations and decisions that might be made that are external to this body. So keep that in mind. And the other thing that I think is important to name, I have been wrestling with this as the Academic Senate president for a little while now. Robbie used the phrase opportunistic for the online teaching modality. There's a kindlier way to frame that, which is many of us thought, like myself as a chemistry professor, thought there was no way ever engaging in online pedagogy training because my discipline doesn't lend itself to that. And my eyes have been opened, right? So there is a more generous way of framing faculty and their hard work over the last couple of years. And we have a number of correspondence classes at this point at the college. Our students in some classes are not getting regular and effective contact. The course is very cookie cutter, so to speak. Read this in this book, come and take this quiz. So we've been wrestling with this as a faculty in these discussions of how do we deal with this? And I don't have a good answer for that. I really don't. This should be shaken out in our evaluation process, but there's lots of issues with our evaluation process. Our online evaluations are, by all intents and purposes, like not fleshed out. So, I think as a college, we need to start having these conversations, and we need to have hard, honest conversations with each other, because our students are not getting the best of us if we don't. Margarita, and then Ruth, and then we need to
actually really quickly. Yeah, I was going to say, if we're going to finalize this, we need to either extend the meeting by 15 minutes or call it. What are we going to do?
What are we going to do? We do not have time next week or the week after to bring this back.
I make a motion that we we formalize this memo with,
And
with,
if-
with the edits that Anna made.
Okay, well, she asked a question for one of them, more explicitly naming the rehire rights verbiage or not. So.
Point of clarification, if this motion gets seconded, we can discuss that in the discussion, right?
Yes.
Okay.
But the motion has to be clear. What are we approving? The document as is, the document with suggested edits.
My motion was to approve the document with the suggested edits.
I second that.
I'm struggling because they're not suggested edits. They're, the first one is a question. Okay, so it's fine. We'll do it. It's probably fine. And if not, the Board of Trustees can tell me that it's not. Margarita?
Thank you. Just really quick. I do see how even the nicest people, and you are very nice all, decide everything from the point of view that me and then the other. You say like, I don't have more classes to give to the part-timers. I can't do this. I cannot give them more. I cannot share because I don't have anything to share. And I see that as an issue, but well, this is not how we do it at City College, isn't it? You are full-timer, you have all the rights, and there is another kind of citizens that have no rights. But let me tell you what, I just want to show you one picture of what is it, and I'm not saying, oh, look, here's a victim or something like that, but you see someone who is, you see a student who is sleeping in the car and who's not having housing, and you feel so bad for them, huh? And you want to help them, and you want to do all these things, and you see someone on the street who is a homeless person, and we all want to fix that issue. But you see a part-timer who is sleeping in the car that you don't even know, but might be sleeping in the car, but you don't care about that. Last time that I lost, my class, I was considering sleeping in the at the parking lot in the Mission. I formed a group of women to help each other. This time I'm in talks to the housing authority to create a program for part-time teachers, because we don't have housing, because we don't have enough money. And it's just a fact. We're not victims of anyone. I just want you to see it for what it is. And this is a reality. Since I came to City College as a student, part-timers were complaining and still complaining. Something is wrong. And let me tell you, it is kindness. It is seeing the other side's perspective, what can help. Not that I don't have enough and I cannot share. That's not how it gets fixed. Let's all have some, might be better. Thank you.
Thank you, Margarita. So the time is now 5:06, and we have a motion on the table to approve with suggested edits. So we can do a roll call vote on that. However, that does not clear up the questions on the edited parts, for at least there's one. So Can somebody motion to extend the meeting perhaps so that we can shore that up and get this done? Tara?
I move to extend the meeting. By what, 15 minutes, half hour? What do we need, 15 minutes?
15 minutes.
All right, I move to extend the meeting by 15 minutes.
Tara, thank you. 15 minutes.
I'll second. This is Ruth.
Okay, so we have a motion on the table to extend the meeting by 15 minutes. Roll call vote. Yes, no, or abstain. If you need to go, of course you can. We just need a quorum to pass the motion when we vote on it. Ben?
Yes.
Counselor Jen?
Yes.
Ellen?
Yes.
Jenny?
Yes.
Joy?
Yes.
Dee Dee?
Yes.
Devon, that is Dee Dee. Elizabeth?
Yes.
Kathy?
Yes.
Robin?
Yes.
Jess?
Yes.
Robbie?
Yes.
Ruth?
Yes.
Tara?
Yes.
Trisha?
Yes.
And Anna?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so meeting is now extended for 15 minutes, so we will end this meeting at 5. I can't do that math right now. 23, maybe 15 minutes from now. Okay. All right, so let's crank out this document.
Can you share it again, please?
Sure. All right, so it seems like we're good on the pink one. And then we're just working with the verbiage here. Make sure that your department part-time faculty are assigned according to Article 12 in the collective bargaining agreement. So Anna is saying more explicitly naming the rehire rights verbiage. And then the second bullet point, there were some concerns from part-time faculty about using the word incentivize, maybe adjusting language to read, consider full-time faculty overloads assignments to support or increase in-person needs and offerings. Okay, where is my Zoom participant list? Okay, Anna.
Yeah, I was gonna just make a comment. So that was the feedback I received from other folks. Regarding Article 12, I don't know if maybe just linking that document to make it easy just solves that problem. I don't think anything in the language is gonna make it any more clear. So I think just linking it is what needs to happen. And then for the second one, I was thinking it would be either the first word when the slashes are present that correspond with each other, or the second word, but that was just my thoughts. And my attempt at responding to what folks asked for.
Yes, we can definitely link to the contract. It's not linked on the FA website, so I'm sure I can get it from the HR website. So we can do that. So if that shores up the first bullet point for people, then we can just think about the second. Do you know the concern about incentivize?
Yeah, so it sounded, I guess part-time faculty received that like incentivize it, encourage it, which they felt competed with the notion of the previous bullet of considering part-time and when they receive their assignments, I guess. So they felt like it conflicted using the word incentivize.
So
I'm just wondering if we said incentivize face-to-face offerings over online offerings, does
It's
that clear it up or no?
It's, I think, Anna, correct me if I'm wrong, but I read it the same way. It's like the goal is to get, of the document is to get full-time faculty to teach face-to-face more, even in overload maybe, as opposed to prioritizing adjunct faculty having a course. Is that right, Anna?
Yeah, I think the intention of that was to say, if faculty are going to be assigned overload, then we can use that overload to support or increase in-person offerings. But using the word incentivize, I guess, made it confusing to some folks. So that was the concern.
So does anybody want to give me guidance which language is preferred from Anna's suggestion? Ellen?
I'm not going to remember it word for word, but I think the way Anna, I don't think I had fully understood the concern before, but Anna, the way you just said it, I think makes it a lot clearer. So something, you can probably repeat what you just said better than I can.
I think it's what I wrote in the note. So if Ray can share again.
Oh,
then maybe we can see it.
Sure. Yeah.
And maybe just go with increase offerings.
Yeah.
In-person offerings.
Yeah, and eliminate the word needs. Is that what you're?
Yeah, so we can eliminate support and needs. And remove the S on overload, right? Or not, I don't know.
Okay. Are we there?
Period at the end.
Mm,
Oh, the others
Yeah.
don't. Never mind.
I don't know
Take
if
it
that's
back.
a full sentence. Yeah.
Take it back.
It's a bullet item. But also, I'm an economist and not someone to get your grammar points from.
there's not periods, and I don't want to go through and put them everywhere. So let's just go without. What am I to do with this? Can I get some direction from the Senate? Do I share this faculty-wide? Do I share this to department chairs? Where is this going? Ellen?
I think sharing it with department chairs and copying all faculty is a good idea.
Okay. Any other suggestions around that? Or is that what I'm to do? Speak now?
Well, this does pertain to credit faculty, right? I mean, because we don't have any full-time. So just if when the email goes out, if it goes out to non-credit, just maybe say that it's credit like you usually do.
Yeah, you do have one full-timer left in non-credit.
Yeah. But I don't think that's kind of, yeah.
I would also like to say, though, that there are many points in here that are not just specific to part-time and full-time. It's also talking about how we're assigning classes that are online or not, and the pedagogy behind our decisions, which do apply across the board.
True.
Robbie?
So this is all the discussion for a motion that's on the table. So is it appropriate to make a friendly amendment to the motion to, to say with the changes just made or something like that, and then vote on it?
So that was my quib earlier to myself, my joke, my bad joke to myself. That's why I was struggling with the motion, because I don't think the motion was that clean, meaning we had these questions. So yeah, let's re-vote on the document because I'm not sure the previous vote was valid. And so we have 1 minute left to do so. Does that sound good?
Should I withdraw my motion and?
No, nope, because it was either valid or not, and hopefully the majority doesn't vote this down, and if it was invalid, then this vote doesn't change it, and yeah. Okay. Motion to approve the document as worked out. Somebody say so moved so that you own.
So moved.
Thank you, Ruth. Somebody please second it.
Second it, Robbie.
Okay. Second, Robbie will take that. Roll call vote. You may vote yes, no, or abstain. Ben?
Yes.
Counselor Jen?
Yes.
Ellen?
Yes.
Jenny?
Yes.
Joy?
Yes.
Dee Dee?
Yes.
Elizabeth?
Yes.
Kathy?
Yes.
Robin?
Yes.
Jess?
Yes.
Robbie?
Yes.
Ruth?
Yes.
Tara?
Yes.
Trisha?
Yes.
And Anna?
Yes.
Excellent. So that was a unanimous vote in favor, as I heard it. And we will get out of here now that we are at our end of the meeting time. Thank you all. Be ready to show up next week with a constitution discussion. We got to be expedient around it. And then also we're going to be hearing out from the first presenters. I will share out with the department chairs the schedule so that people know when they're going, and expect this to be shared out faculty wide. If not right now, because I'm going to get going with my family, then tonight or tomorrow morning. So it'll be shared out. Thank you all.
Can I make one more plug? Don't forget to review the Constitution and share that out. We'd love to hear feedback.
Yep. Later, y'all.